talking about, of course, Jerry Dipoto, biggest interview in Seattle today. Jumping,
That's a big game.
It's a big game.
Come on now.
We are going to talk about it in a second. It's a big game for one person in particular. Jerry Dipoto was on with Brock and Salk this morning for an interview that all of us were waiting to hear. I am not going to wait any longer. Going to play you right away what Jerry had to say about his now infamous 54% comment.
Yeah, first I'd like to say I'm generally embarrassed by the way, at least, that comment and especially one other was received. And, I've been doing this job or roles like this for a long time now, and I've made mistakes. I've made my fair share, like most do, and this is kind of one of those times. And I just did a poor job of illustrating the points that I was trying to make. And in one case, I chose to try humor to lighten a grave question, and obviously that wasn't what the moment called for. And with this one, the 54%, I just completely whiffed in my attempt to paint a big picture baseline.
I want to know what you guys think about that interview this morning. You can join the conversation on the Mac and Jacks text line, 866-979-3776. Bump, what did you think?
I thought he came out the gates pretty good. I thought the main thing I wanted to hear was an apology, and I wanted to hear exactly what he was thinking because, as you and I know, man, sometimes communication is different for people. And we took his little giggle after the 54 as like a nervous little twitch, like, oh, maybe I messed up. But now listening to him talk, he goes, I was trying to use humor. And he didn't read the room. No. Mariners fans don't want humor right now. They want results. They want actions. They want an explanation of, exactly what happened. So I think initially he did all right. I'm like, okay, this is what you needed to do. The first thing you say when you've offended hundreds of thousands of people is say, I'm sorry, this is what I meant. Then he goes over to the 54% thing. Like I said yesterday, he's not wrong with those numbers. But those numbers, 54% of anything, unless you're talking about nothing. 54% of anything isn't good, right? You're talking about grades, that's an F right there. Now, if we're talking batting average and stuff, that's different in baseball because their numbers are all low. But when you use half of the time to describe what you want your team to do as far as being successful throughout a decade, that's where you lose people, even if the numbers say that you have a great chance of accomplishing some of your goals if you do that.
Brittany in the 206 says he said he was embarrassed, but no direct sorry or apology. I think that another listener, 253, he said he's embarrassed about how it was received, but not about what he said, ? That's what's sticking with me, too. So I agree. When I heard this live, I thought, wow, I'm shocked that Jerry sounds contrite. I expected Jerry to come on and do some PR maneuvering to be like, I did not read the room. I did not expect him to be contrite. I think he sounded contrite, though you're right, he did not apologize, because I don't think that Jerry, and Bump, maybe you agree with me, I don't think Jerry thinks he's wrong. I think that Jerry believes that he has the key to turning this into a World Series team.
Yep.
And he thinks and hears, I think what he hears when he hears critiques are go out and spend, get big names, go buy Aaron Judge. I know he's not available. It's just an example. Go buy Aaron Judge and turn this into a contender. What Mariners fans are really saying, I mean, some people are saying that, but what Mariners fans are really saying is, hey, we're the only club not to make it to a World Series. Hey, we got one playoff appearance in 20 years. What can you give us? Because I don't want the answer to be hang on tight. We'll get there eventually. There's been waiting long enough. I want you to tell me how you plan to get to a World Series next year, how you plan to get to a World Series the year after. I want to hear your plan for that. That's all fans are asking.
He doesn't have the sense of urgency that everyone else has when it comes to this team.
Exactly.
He's sitting back and it feels like he's saying, I got time. You've been here 8 years. I don't think you have that much time. And I think that his responsibility was to convey that to the fans. Like, look, I got you. Sometimes all my wife and my kids need to hear in certain situations, hey, I got you. I'm going to take care of this. Then everything's fine. Then they can go off and live their beautiful little lives, and I'll take on the stress of making sure everything is good to go. That's what he needed to be in that moment. And sometimes it's a personality thing, too. Right? Like you and I can say, Stacy, you're a funny person, right? You can sit here, your headline rewrites be having us cracking up and stuff.
Don't sell them up today.
Some people
Slow news day.
Just the humor is
She
all
doesn't
off.
need this, Bob.
They're-
She doesn't need this.
No, stop. No,
I gas
go
you
ahead.
up.
You can keep going.
Their humor is off. They're socially awkward. They don't know how to communicate with people, but you know what? They're good with numbers. They're good on the books. So listen, I'm not defending Jerry. I think I feel the same way that a lot of these people felt, but I like to understand people and understand where he's coming from and how that made sense to him. Even if I don't agree with the way that he did it, at least I understand where he's coming from now.
I agree. I thought that if I were a PR person advising Jerry, the answer I would have told him to give would be a version of what he did. So this isn't me critiquing his initial answer to some of this, which was to say, hey, I did not read the room. Whether or not you believe him that he meant to make a joke or like whether or not you wanted to hear more of a clear apology aside, I was very surprised that he even said he felt embarrassed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play a little bit more from this. By the way, this is going to be, there's so much sound. We're going to try to cover all the most important pieces. So if you heard the interview, we're going to obviously all react to it. If you didn't hear it, we got you covered. This is going to be the next segment too. We've got some stuff to get to about those Cal rumors. That's big stuff too. So if you don't hear it yet, we're going to get to it at 10:30. We're going to stick with that initial response. In addition to the 54% comment really rubbing people the wrong way, Bump, people were also really upset. Fans were rightfully upset about being told to be patient. People were like, are you trying to be mediocre? Like, why don't you want to win a championship? I'm tired of waiting. This was Jerry's response to people questioning the goal of the organization.
Our goal isn't to be mediocre. Our goal is to win championships and then to play at a high level for a long time. And that's what I was trying to convey. It just, obviously it didn't help. And that's, I wish I could hit reset and try it again, but that moment's gone. And the best I can do is continue to try to be candid and accessible. And I feel like over my time here, we've done that.
I'm going to just go ahead and connect it with this one right here.
We want our fans to feel like they're part of the team and at minimum have a front row seat to what's happening. We tell them what we're doing and then we do that thing. They may not always agree with it or like it, but we're very candid in that way. And I can assure everyone that we want to win.
What did you think about that?
I think at this point of the interview, now it feels like bullet points, right? I got to make sure I say this. I got to make sure I say that. And it might not be bullet points to him, but the way that it's just received and the way that he presents it, it just feels like, all right, I've said my apology. Now I got to hit these bullet points. And these are bullet points that you're supposed to hit. You're supposed to say these things. You're supposed to make the fans feel like, oh, we don't want to be mediocre. You're a part of this. The fans aren't a part of this. And in no way, shape, or form are the fans a part of this. If they were, a lot more would be done during the offseason when the fans apply that pressure to you. So, there was a point of the interview where I go, all right, now this is robot talk, and we're just getting through this.
Totally. Like, I just, full disclosure, overall, I liked the initial answer. I liked his response overall to start the interview.
Yeah.
As it kept going, I think I realized as a listener, as a Mariners fan, as someone who follows this team, I had the exact same feeling you did, where I was like, okay, now I'm being reminded that Jerry hasn't changed his mind about how he wants to build this team. And I may not agree with all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm just curious to see if it's going to pay off this year. Because if you enter into 2024 and he has the same kind of approach and same kind of mentality and you don't get anywhere, are you going to learn from that? Because now you're talking about yet another year where, the plan didn't work. So I think that's why people are frustrated. But that's what I heard from the rest of the interview was we are not going to go out and spend a ton of money. We are going to add in free agency pieces.
But we might. But we might.
But we're gonna add complementary pieces, not the star.
Yeah.
We think we're developing the stars. And the problem that a lot of fans would say is, tell me where. Houseway, where is the star outside of Julio, outside of Cal?
He said the best way to get the stars is to develop the star. Then he pointed towards Julio. And then he said that the stars have to want to come to Seattle. So that makes me think that maybe the recruiting process is all jacked up, or there's something internally that these stars are looking at when they talk to their agents. And they're saying, actually, we might not want to go there.
But how do you change that? Because I can tell you right now, if I'm someone who's a free agent, now there might be some people where maybe your agent has beef with someone. Maybe you don't want Seattle because you don't like the area. You're too far away from home. Like, there's plenty of reasons that players don't want to go certain places that have nothing to do with that team.
Right.
But you can certainly improve your odds of getting players by winning. And by showing that, hey, if you come here, we're not done building. If you come here, I'm going to make sure that you don't have to carry us. If you come here, I'm going to make sure that we're going to win games.